Guys, hope you're doing well. So, like I said, I was going to do the second episode of Haikyuu, and I liked it a lot. I ended up, I really liked the senpais, so Sugawara and Daichi, I can't remember his last name, and Tanaka a lot in the manga, and the anime's portrayal of them was even better. Daichi actually scared me a little bit with the whole his creepy eye when he was asking Kageyama, like, do you mean that? Will you do that? Oh, that freaked me out. And I know I've seen a lot on Tumblr. Suga's like little troll face when after Tanaka sees the manager, he kind of just closes the door with a really weird expression on his face, which was very beautiful. And Tanaka always just makes me happy, just of how crazy he is. So, the episode, a brief summary. So, the first episode ended with Hinata, seeing Kageyama, and like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? And what he ends up explaining, is that he's there because the top volleyball school rejected him. And I don't think it's not a spoiler. I'll put spoiler in my description anyways. But we find out later is that the reason why Kageyama didn't get in is because he didn't pass academically. So while he may be good at volleyball, he's not very smart. Which from what you've seen of him so far in the first episode, in the second episode, he looks kind of smart. He also looks kind of mean, but I can already tell, and excluding the manga stuff, from like his inner thoughts that you're hearing, he doesn't mean to be mean. I feel like he just doesn't get why people, like with his past team in middle school, why they weren't trying as hard. Like one of the teammates in the first episode, after Hinata hit it, and they did a one-touch, he kind of just like slowly jogged to go to the ball, and the ball ended up hitting the ground. And Hinata's team ended up getting a point. He could have ran. In that episode, Hinata ran and tumbled and hit the wall and hit the little blue, dividers or whatever twice. He did that, that 2 times. But, he got mad at him, and then he was getting mad at his other teammates because they weren't being faster. So that's a little hard for them to do. But the other teammate, I would have been mad too, because I would have been like, why didn't you run? You could have got it if you ran. And he was just like, I'm done. So I feel like his teammates are kind of also done with him at that point. So he was getting mad. So I feel like he doesn't get why he didn't try hard enough. And then when he said at the end of the episode, what have you been doing for the last 3 years to Hinata? I don't think he was trying to be mean with that either, even though both Hinata's friends, I think Koji got mad, and Hinata was kind of kind of thought it was mean too. I think he also got mad, or they also thought he was being mean about it, but I think for that one, he was more being like, you're really good, or you've got such good potential. Like, what have you been doing these last 3 years? Because he doesn't know that Hinata that there's no volleyball club at the school. He didn't know that the team that they had was, put together, last minute. He doesn't know that, so he's sort of just like, where has all this potential been going? Why haven't you, been on a team before? So I feel like he wasn't trying to be mean about it, even though they took it as mean. Let's see what else. So that was more first episode stuff and second episode stuff, but I was too excited last week to do it. So yeah, they were on the same team, and they ended up kind of saying the wrong things to each other. Hinata calls Kageyama king of the court, which Kageyama's not happy about, and you guys will find more about that later. Kageyama is sort of saying things in a way that aren't be taken as mean, but he doesn't really know how else to put it out, and so he's also kind of being a little mean because he doesn't, I guess, really get because he's an experienced player. He was probably on his volleyball team the full 3 years, or if not the full 3 years, for at least more than a year. And Hinata hasn't even been on a team once, with the exception of that put-together team that hadn't played volleyball before. Which, by the way, they did pretty well. They got 7 points or 8 points the first set and 8 points the second set from just being a quickly put-together team, and for none of them to really know how to play volleyball that well, except for Hinata. They did pretty good against the high team that Kageyama's team used to be. So I feel like he just doesn't get it, and they're not really understanding each other at this moment. But they're both really passionate, which is something that I think will happen. Like, well, I'll get there in a second. Anyway, so they kind of rub each other the wrong way, and then what gets introduced is the 3 senpais, which is Sugawara, who I call Suga, Daichi, because I can't remember his last name. I think it also starts with an S, and then Tanaka. And they're really good characters. They're hilarious. And so they come in, and it's kind of upsetting in the beginning because they kind of ignore Hinata, and they're just like, I feel like in a way they don't even notice him because of how short he is, which is really bad. But they mostly just see Kageyama, and he's even taller than them. I didn't realize Kageyama, even in the manga, was way taller than the senpais, which is crazy. Sorry, I should stop saying that. But he's even taller than they are. But they're sort of like asking him questions like, how tall are you? You know, yada yada yada. And it takes Hinata yelling like, hello, for them to actually notice he's there. And then they notice him, and then they mention that they were at the game from last year that we saw in the flashback. Then they're like, oh, the shorty's here too. And then, he gets kind of miffed about it because he's like, not short, but he's like, but I can jump. And then he says he's going to be the ace of that team, and Tanaka's just like, oh, arrogant, and Suga's just like, but that's good to have ambition and stuff, which is nice to see, and you could see that Suga's probably going to be very idolized. And you could see in that remark of him being the ace that Kageyama was also kind of miffed about it. Probably considering Hinata is saying he's going to be the ace, and he has no experience yet at all with volleyball that much. Well, he doesn't, not at all, but he doesn't have much experience, and he's kind of overconfident, while Kageyama probably had to work towards his stuff. Not that Hinata didn't either, but I don't know. I feel like they don't understand each other. So yeah, I think when he says that, Kageyama gets kind of like, you better have improved this last 3 years, and it's just like, all like mad at him, and they start arguing, and Daichi, the captain, he's the captain of the volleyball team, tries to, oops, sorry, I moved the camera closer, you don't want to zoom in on my face. Daichi, tries to talk to them, and he's like literally smiling as they keep arguing, and you could see that he's getting really pissed off because the smile stays, and you can tell he's irked about it, and Tanaka's even just like, oh god, you guys, you went out with the captain, don't do that, listen. And then the dean comes in, which he comes in later as well, but you can tell he's one of those kind of pompous characters that something bad's gonna happen, and he's already not pleased with this team. And they even mention, guys, don't do this. And Hinata and Kageyama are still arguing in the background. And they're not listening to the captain, and they're not listening to the senpais, and they're just arguing. And they challenge each other to a match, and Hinata says he'll receive when a Kageyama serves. Well, Kageyama just decides to go all full out. They zoom in on his face, and it's like crazy angry, and he's just like putting all his effort into it, and it's kind of like it's like fast and it's hard, and Hinata just kind of like rolls, like he dodges it, he just no. And what I think was funny too, on the top of the subs, Tanaka's just like, I could probably hit that, I could have hit that, and it's just like, oh, he didn't have that last year, like I didn't see that last year, but he didn't play against that, and Kageyama was like kind of taking it seriously, so he's just like, you think you can do it? Okay, I'm gonna put my whole effort into it, let's see you do it, kind of a thing. And then, so he does it again, and Hinata this time tries to do it, and he hits it too far up, you can't even see, he hits it too far, yeah, let me show you my arms, he hits it too far up, his arms, you're supposed to hit it more towards your your forearm and your wrist. And so it ends up hitting it and then hitting him in the face, and it bounces off his face and hits the dean. And of course the dean is wearing a wig, and it comes off and it goes on Daichi's head, which was hilarious. And so he gets really pissed off. And he's already mad at that team for another reason, why you'll also find out later. And so like the captain is probably going to be told off, and he probably was told off, and you know, bad things. And so what happens next later is when Daichi gets really pissed off, and Suga and Tanaka like sort of like have the like dreaded look on their face, and they just sort of scoot away from him, and he's smiling and he seems happy, and you can like, it's one of those happy smiles you're just like, oh fuck, he's really pissed off, oh my god. And so he like, it's this like kind of fake smile, and he grabs Kageyama's shoulder and he grabs Hinata's shoulder, and they both look really surprised, like, oh crap, what's going on? And he ends up leading them outside with their admission form to the club, and he gives it back to them and says, until you guys can get along, you're not allowed in this club. And then he closes the door and just kicks them out of the gym. So from there, both Hinata and Kageyama just kind of grovel and beg, and Tanaka and Suga are just like, why are you doing this? We don't, like, why are you being so intense with these guys? And then you can hear Kageyama pushing Hinata, and then you see Hinata on the ground, and Kageyama's just like, I guess I'll get along with this guy, I guess, if I have to, you know, don't do this, kind of a thing. And that's when the like, zoom in on Daichi's eye, and he's just like, are you sure? Are you gonna really do that? And then, I guess, Kageyama just can't tell lies, or I don't know, maybe he has to be honest, but he ends up, like, trying to force himself not to, but then he does, and says, you know, I'd rather not, I would just play by myself if I have to, I don't want to play with Hinata, kind of a thing. And Daichi laughs, and just like, oh, well, I'm surprised you told me the truth, but, you know, until you guys have to figure out a way to get along, or I'm not letting you in. And he closes the door again. And they're just like, oh, you know, what can we do? You know, do we have to show them we're getting along? And then the manager comes by, and I like how it does like a boob shot, a butt shot, and then it shows her face. And then, sorry, my laughter is just like, because it usually just does boobs, and I just like boob, butt, sparkly face. And the manager's really pretty though, and she comes in, and then like Tanaka's just like, oh, you know, can I help your bag? And she's like, no, I got it. She's just like, oh, you look beautiful today, and she just ignores him. And some of my friends think that she does that on purpose, just to like, just to see his like reaction of like when he does like, oh, when she ignores me, it just turns me on, and he just like gets all blushy and stuff. So we feel like she's like kind of doing it on purpose, and like she maybe secretly does like him or something. And I'm behind on the manga chapters, but she's still ignoring him when I was last reading it. And then like Suga does that really weird like kind of troll like not troll face, but like nervously smiles face, and which looks hilarious, and just closes the door. And they're left out there, and then the inside people are still talking, just like, which you find out later, Daichi's explaining why he's, you know, doing this to them, because they're still technically in the club, and, you know, they don't have enough members to have a team yet with, no, they do, never mind, but, I know they want them in the club, so, he's explaining that, and while he's explaining that, Hinata and Kageyama are trying to figure out, you know, how to convince them. And Kageyama's just like, we'll challenge them to a match, you know. We'll challenge them for a place and show that we can work together or something. And, you know, it's just like, well, they're senpais, right? How can you, you know, beat them? And Kageyama's just like, well, you've got me. You know, it's just like, acts all surprised. It's like, wow, you can see Kageyama is kind of self-centered like the captain thinks. I feel like he's self-centered mostly because I feel like the years he was at his middle school, he probably feels like he has to be, because as in the first episode you could see his teammates stopped kind of trying, and I feel like what he was doing is that Kageyama just got too passionate and probably practiced too hard, and he just expects everyone to meet his expectations rather than him work with his teammates and them both like, match together. So he is kind of self-centered. I'm not going to say he's not. He is kind of self-centered. Because he does his volleyball around himself rather than the whole team. And then in his mind, he's secretly like, oh, like, how am I going to work with this person? And he tells Hinata that, you better not get in my way. Do your best not to get in my way. And Hinata's all miffed about it. It's like, what do you expect me to say? I'll do my best? No, I'm not going to say that. He's going to try. And he does his thing where he's just like, I want to stand on the court. Last year was my first tournament. That was the first game I ever played in. And that he wants to stand on the court and win. And Kageyama does a little flashback that happened at the end of the first episode 2 where his team lost. His team lost, and you'll find out that other things too with that. And so what ends up happening is that they kind of connect a little bit, but not really. And so when the practice is over, and it's funny because Tanaka's just like, they'll probably say, I'll challenge you to a match kind of a thing, and they do, and he's laughing. And so Daishi's just like, okay, well, if you're going to do that, then what happens if you lose? And they said they'll take a penalty, and the penalty will be that Kageyama can't be a setter. And so he says to meet them on Saturday, if they're doing this. And they kind of accept, and they go back to, or maybe that was still in the middle of a practice or something, I don't remember. But it would start when they were leaving. And so they, Hinata doesn't get it. He thinks the spiker's like awesome and it's flashy, and that's something that fits Hinata's match. And then this is where you see Kageyama being all passionate, kind of like ridiculous looking, and he's just like, they're both making noises and stuff at each other for like sound effects and like just passion. And so he explains why he wants to be a setter. I'm sorry. And why he wants to be a setter, and he gets, like, oh, okay, I can kind of see how you do it, he's just like, oh, it's a cool position, and everyone depends on you, and, the spikers can't do it without me, and blah, 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 blah. And so he sees why Kageyama would be upset. He's like, well, we just have to win, right? And, what ends up happening also, is that they assign Tanaka to it's gonna be 3-on-3, so I think it's gonna be Daichi and the 2 other freshmen that you see a brief of in the preview, and then it's gonna be Tanaka and Hinata and Kageyama on the other team, and whoever wins, if they win, they get on the team. If they don't, then Kageyama can't be a setter. Ugh, I keep saying settler. And so Tanaka kind of helps them because they need to practice and say, okay, come at 5 o'clock. 5 in the morning, or that the practice tomorrow starts at 7, so they have to come at 5 if they want to practice even a little, because they're still banned from the gym. And then it goes, or I might have that a little mixed up, but Daichi explains that he's doing this to them because Kageyama on his own is self-centered and he's good, but he's not great, and he's going to still be self-centered if they let him do what he wants. Hinata is not experienced, and he has good potential though, and he was saying that with the 2 of them put together, they're going to be able to do great things, and they're going to like synchronize and just be great together, so that's what he wants them to do. So he's doing this so they work well together, because they have to, well, they don't have to, but if they do, it'll be good for the team. I need to stop now. I didn't realize I was talking so long. Oh god. Okay, I'm almost done though. And so, Suga and Tanaka kind of get it. And so Tanaka kind of helps them, because he actually does like them. He's laughed a lot with them, and he's just like, okay, well, they're kind of funny, and he becomes good friends with Hinata, especially, because Kageyama kind of has an off-putting thing. But so they're gonna work well together. And so, after he tells them the time, Hinata and Kageyama are seen, rushing, just racing home, okay, we're gonna be at 5, and they're just racing to beat each other, because they're still gonna have a rivalry going on. And then you see that, Hinata's just like, oh, I forgot my bag, and so he has to come back and get it. And so the next day, they show up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and they're just like, oh, the door's locked, what are we gonna do? And Tanaka, the great senpai he is, brings the keys, and he's just like, oh, what a great senpai I am, and he has them, call him senpai after they thank him, and he's just like, oh, one more time as he's laughing, and they call him again, and they come inside, and they're all happy and stuff, and, I was especially happy, and they're just like, oh, we're gonna be on the court, and then that's where it ends, with them saying, let's practice. And so I'm really excited for the next episode because the 2 other freshmen are coming in, and one of them's kind of a dick, but I like them a lot. So we're gonna see some Hinata and Kageyama interaction and some actual practice little match, sort of a little, and so that'll be fun. But yeah, I'm excited, and I hope you guys watch it. I know it just came out yesterday, but I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll be on next week for another one. So let me know what you guys think of these, and I hope you guys are enjoying Haikyuu. Alright, love you guys. Bye.